It is Saturday morning. Her home has never once needed what most of us would call a deep clean. Not the kind that takes a Saturday. Not the kind that requires you to set aside an entire weekend because the house has, once again, quietly gotten away from you. Not the kind accompanied by the particular mix of guilt and exhaustion that arrives before you have even found the mop. The sense that somewhere between last week and this one, something accumulated that you were supposed to have prevented, and didn't, and now here you are. You are standing in her kitchen in Osaka, and it is Saturday morning, and she is making tea, and the counter is clear, and the sink is empty, and the floor beneath your feet is the floor you stepped onto when you came in. Clean in the way of something that has been clean for long enough that the cleanliness is simply the baseline state of the room, rather than the recently achieved result of an effort. You have been here since 7:30. She has not cleaned anything since you arrived. She made tea, she sat at the low table, she opened the window for a few minutes, and the air moved through the apartment in the particular way of air that is being asked to do something useful rather than simply being tolerated, and then she closed it again. That was all. And the apartment, the kitchen counter, the bathroom sink, the floors of both rooms, the low table, the windowsill, is as clean as the apartment you stepped into 40 minutes ago. Not clean because someone cleaned it. Clean because it was already clean. Clean in the way of something that has been attended to in small, consistent increments for so many years that the cleaning has disappeared entirely into the rhythm of the day and become indistinguishable from simply living in the space. Somewhere else right now, in a home that is probably not in Osaka, someone is looking at a Saturday and feeling the particular weight of what needs to happen in it. The sink that has been putting itself off since Wednesday. The floor that has been building its case since the last time it was properly addressed. The bathroom that is not dirty in an alarming sense, but that has accumulated, incrementally, the evidence of a week of daily use that no one attended to as it arrived. And the Saturday that was going to be something. Rest, or pleasure, or the particular quality of an unscheduled day, is instead the day the house asks for back. Japan has never accepted this arrangement. Not because Japanese people are cleaner by nature, because they built a different relationship between the person and the home. A relationship in which mess is managed in the moment it is created, rather than allowed to accumulate into a problem requiring a day to address. 5 things. 15 minutes a day. The Saturday that disappears into cleaning is a Saturday that was lost 1 2-minute moment at a time, and the moments are recoverable. You know the feeling. Not the cleaning itself, the cleaning is fine, manageable, even occasionally satisfying. The feeling before it. The particular quality of Sunday evening when you walk past the bathroom and register, without quite deciding to register, that you have been walking past that bathroom all week, and something about it has been asking for your attention, and you have been giving it the same answer every time. Not now, later, this weekend. And the weekend arrives, and the bathroom is still there, and the later has become now, and the weight of the not yet has been sitting on the week like a low-frequency noise that you cannot locate but cannot quite stop hearing. Dr. Darby Saxbe at the University of Southern California spent years studying exactly this. Her research, published across multiple journals and consistently replicated, found that people who described their home environments as cluttered or unfinished had measurably higher cortisol levels throughout the day than those who described their homes as restful and orderly. Not higher cortisol when they were cleaning. Higher cortisol when they were simply existing in a home that had registered, somewhere below the level of conscious thought, as a place with unfinished business. The mess was not stressing them because they were looking at it, it was stressing them because they knew it was there. And the knowing, the low, continuous, background awareness that something needs to be done and has not been done, is not the same as the doing. It draws from the same reserve of cognitive and emotional resources. It produces the same hormonal response. It costs something, every hour, whether you are thinking about it or not. The Princeton Neuroscience Institute published research showing that visual clutter competes for neural resources, that the brain, presented with unresolved visual disorder, allocates attention to it even when the person is trying to attend to something else. The cluttered counter in the background of the Zoom call, the pile of things on the bathroom floor visible from the corner of the eye while brushing teeth, the stack of something on the table that has been waiting for 3 weeks to be addressed and is now simply part of how the table looks. none of these are crises. Each one is a small, ongoing draw, a minor and continuous leak from the reservoir that the home is supposed to be replenishing. Japan's answer to this is not a better cleaning product or a more efficient cleaning schedule. It is the understanding that the home's baseline state is its most important property, not how clean it gets when it is cleaned, how clean it stays when no one is doing anything about it. 5 habits. The baseline changes, and the Saturday changes with it. There is a model of cleaning that most of the Western world operates on without ever having explicitly chosen it. The accumulation model. Mess accumulates throughout the week. The dishes from Monday live with the dishes from Tuesday until Wednesday, becomes the evening when someone addresses all 3 days at once. The bathroom deteriorates from Sunday to the following weekend, when the deep clean finally happens. The floor gathers what it gathers until someone decides it has gathered enough. This model is not lazy. It is not a character failure. It is a reasonable response to a life that has many demands, and cleaning is not, in the hierarchy of urgency, usually the one pressing hardest. But here is what the accumulation model costs that most people have never calculated. It costs the cortisol of awareness, the low, chronic stress of knowing that something needs to be done and hasn't been. It costs the motivation to address a task that has grown through accumulation into something larger and more effortful than any individual component of it actually is. A countertop that was wiped daily for 7 days costs 7 times 30 seconds. A countertop that was neglected for 7 days and then scrubbed costs 8 minutes, and the particular reluctance of someone approaching a task they have been avoiding. The total cleaning time is approximately the same. The cortisol cost across the week is not. Japan's cleaning philosophy operates on the prevention model. Not cleaning more, cleaning sooner. The stove wiped while it is still warm from cooking, before anything has set. The sink rinsed immediately after the dishes, before the water has dried and left its mineral evidence on the steel. The bathroom surface run over with a cloth after it is used, before the soap has dried and the question of whether the tile needs scrubbing has time to become a question. This is the principle that underlies all 5 habits. The mess that is addressed in the moment it is created costs almost nothing. The mess that is allowed to accumulate costs what accumulation costs, which is more than the cleaning, and includes the week of knowing the cleaning is coming. Here are the 5 habits. Together, they take approximately 15 minutes a day, and they produce the home you stepped into this morning. The Saturday kitchen that was already taken care of before anyone thought to take care of it. The first habit is not a cleaning habit. It is a prevention habit, and it happens before you have taken your first step inside. The Genkan, the dedicated entryway where shoes are removed before crossing into the living space, is the oldest and most effective cleaning system in the Japanese home. Not because it is a ritual, because of what it prevents. Research on household contamination, published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology, found that shoe soles carry an average of 421,000 bacteria per square centimeter. On first contact with an indoor floor, between 90 and 99% of those bacteria transfer. Every step taken through a home in outdoor shoes deposits the chemical and biological residue of every surface that shoe has touched. Parking lots, public transport floors, the pavement outside a restaurant, the mat outside a hospital, onto the floors where children play barefoot, where pets sleep, where the kitchen has been cleaned the same morning. A home with a Genkan is not cleaner because someone cleans more. It is cleaner because less arrives in the first place. You do not need to renovate an entryway to borrow this. A low shoe rack beside the door, a small bench or stool, a pair of indoor slippers positioned so that removing your shoes feels like the obvious next step rather than a rule to remember. The infrastructure of the Genkan in its simplest form, and the principle it encodes. The outside world stops at the door, and the home inside stays exactly as clean as it was before the day began. She removes her shoes before she enters. She has always removed her shoes. This has nothing to do with discipline, and everything to do with the fact that her floors, which she has never scrubbed on a Saturday in the way most people scrub their floors on a Saturday, have also never received the Saturday's accumulation in the first place. The second habit comes from a Zen Buddhist temple. Not in the philosophical sense that most wellness content invokes Zen, not as an aesthetic or a metaphor, but in the literal sense that the practice of Soji, the morning cleaning of one's living space, originated in the daily routines of Zen monks and has been continuous in Japanese domestic life since it migrated from the monastery into the home. In its monastic form, Soji is performed by monks each morning before any other activity, not because the space needs to be cleaned. In a monastery, the cleaning is not remediation, it is initiation. The act of cleaning the space before beginning the day is the act of preparing the mind for the day. The clean surface is not the goal. The quality of attention required to clean it is. The modern domestic version takes 15 minutes. It follows a shape so consistent it has become a rhythm rather than a routine, something the body enters rather than something the mind decides. Open a window first. Even in winter, for 2 minutes. The air that has accumulated overnight, the carbon dioxide, the moisture, the particular staleness of a space that has been closed against the cold, is allowed to move. The room, after 2 minutes of an open window, is a different room, not demonstrably cleaner, but differently oxygenated, differently energized, differently awake. Make the bed immediately, the moment both feet are on the floor, before anything else is done, not because an unmade bed is dirty, because a made bed changes the room. Researchers studying the relationship between environmental order and mood have consistently found that the made bed is one of the single highest leveraged domestic acts. It produces a visible sense of order that amplifies the effect of everything else in the room. Wipe the kitchen counter. Run a cloth over the bathroom sink. A quick pass over the floors that see the most traffic. 15 minutes, beginning at the moment of waking, and the home that you step out of is already reset, not carrying the previous day into this one, not accumulating toward the Saturday that takes the morning. She does this every morning, has done it for as long as she can remember, not as a practice she adopted, but as the natural shape of the morning that she absorbed from the home she grew up in, where the same 15 minutes happened in the same order at the same time every day, until the morning and the cleaning were no longer separate things. There is a principle from Japanese industrial management that has been applied, quietly and without announcement, to the daily maintenance of Japanese homes for longer than it had a name. Kaizen, continuous improvement through small, almost unnoticeable steps. Applied to a factory floor, Kaizen means never allowing a problem to compound. The small inefficiency is addressed when it is small, before it becomes a large inefficiency requiring a large intervention. The machine is calibrated before it drifts, not after it breaks. Applied to a home, Kaizen means this. If something takes 2 minutes or less, it is done the moment it is noticed, not added to a mental list, not deferred to the weekend, not incorporated into the next cleaning session. Done now, before the next thing. Wipe the stove after cooking, while the stove is still warm and before anything has set. Under 2 minutes. Run a cloth over the bathroom sink after brushing teeth, before the toothpaste has dried into the texture that requires actual scrubbing. Under a minute. Fold the blanket on the couch before leaving the room. 30 seconds. Return the object to its place before picking up the next one. 10 seconds, 20 times. Each of these actions is too small to feel like cleaning. That is precisely the point. They are small enough that the friction of doing them is smaller than the friction of remembering them, deferring them, and eventually addressing them as part of a larger task you have been putting off. Research on what psychologists call behavioral inertia has found that a task deferred past a certain threshold acquires a psychological weight disproportionate to the actual effort it requires. The bathroom that needs a 30-second wipe becomes, through deferral, a bathroom that requires psyching up to address. The stove that needs a 1-minute clean becomes the stove you are avoiding. The object sitting in the wrong place becomes the object you stop seeing while simultaneously registering, in the background, as something unresolved. The 2-minute rule does not just keep the home clean. It prevents the accumulation of exactly the kind of low-level domestic stress that Dr. Saxbe's research measures in cortisol. Every task completed in the moment it is created is a task that never becomes part of the background noise. She does not think about cleaning. She does it, immediately, when something requires it, and then she does not think about it again. The fourth habit is not a cleaning habit either. It is the principle that produces the environment in which the other 4 habits require almost no effort. It is the foundational decision that the cleaning habits maintain, rather than create. Every object in this apartment has a designated place, not a drawer where it lives among other things that also live there by default. A specific, considered location that was decided before the object was allowed into the apartment, and that the object returns to every time it is used. The Rings bowl by the sink. for the rings that come off when hands are washed. The hook beside the door, for the bag that otherwise ends up on the floor. The tray on the shelf, for the keys, the phone, the small daily objects that in most homes migrate to wherever they were last set down and generate, in their accumulated displacement, the particular texture of a home where things do not have places. Princeton Neuroscience Institute's research on visual clutter established that objects without designated purpose or place compete for neural resources in a way that objects with designated places do not. The brain, encountering a surface where things have simply landed, allocates attention to the unresolved question of their placement. The brain, encountering a surface where everything is exactly where it belongs, does not. The cleaned home is not a home without things. It is a home where everything knows where it goes and goes there. And the extraordinary property of a home like this is that it does not get dirty the way a home without this infrastructure gets dirty. Because the mess that most cleaning addresses is not the mess of use, it is the mess of displacement. The object that was used and not returned. The surface that accumulated what had nowhere else to go. She does not own many things, but everything she owns has a home, and the home is clean not because she cleans it, but because the objects return, after every use, to where they belong. And where they belong is where they always are. And where they always are is clean. The last habit takes 5 minutes. It happens before sleep, and it is the reason that the morning begins in the kitchen you stepped into today, rather than in the kitchen of the night before. Before she goes to bed, she does 3 things. The kitchen counter is cleared and wiped, not scrubbed, wiped. The cloth that hangs on the hook beside the sink, damp and ready, moved once across the surface to collect whatever the evening left behind, 20 seconds. The bathroom sink is given the same cloth, the same 20 seconds. The ring of toothpaste and soap that accumulates at the basin edge is removed before it has time to become anything that requires effort to remove. And she looks, briefly, at the space as she would see it in the morning. Is the floor clear? Is the table surface what she would want to encounter first thing? Has anything been left in a place that will register, when she opens her eyes tomorrow, as something unresolved? If yes, she addresses it. 10 seconds, 30, never more than a minute. Because the thing left undone tonight is the thing that will cost her cortisol tomorrow morning, before she has done anything to earn it. If no, she turns off the light. The space that she wakes up to tomorrow morning is the space she arranged tonight. Not perfectly, not for guests. For herself in the specific way of someone who has understood that the home's first job is to support the person living in it, and that the home that begins the day asking something of you is a home that is not yet doing its job. 15 minutes a day, distributed across these 5 habits. 7 minutes in the morning for Soji, 2 or 3 minutes during the day for Kaizen moments, 5 minutes before sleep for the evening reset, and the Genkan running silently in the background, reducing what arrives before anyone has to manage what is there. The Saturday that disappeared into cleaning was built from a week of moments that did not take 2 minutes. Every one of them is recoverable. You are still in the kitchen. The tea is finished. The cup has been washed and is already drying in the rack beside the sink. The cloth is back on its hook. The window is closed. The morning has happened and the kitchen is exactly as clean as it was when the morning began. Not because anything was cleaned, but because nothing was allowed to go unaddressed for the length of time it takes anything to become a problem. She did not clean this kitchen. She maintained it. There is a distinction that most cleaning advice has never bothered to make, because most cleaning advice is built on the accumulation model, on the premise that cleaning is something you do after the mess has arrived, rather than something you do in the moment the mess is made. She maintained it every morning for 15 minutes, and between the mornings for the 30 seconds it takes to wipe a stove that is still warm, and in the evenings for the 5 minutes it takes to set the kitchen back to where it was when the morning began. And the Saturday is not a cleaning day. The Saturday is just a Saturday. 5 things built this. The Genkan, the boundary that keeps the outside from entering, so the inside stays at the baseline it was set to, rather than accumulating toward the state that requires correction. Soji, the 15 minutes of morning attention that resets the space each day before the day has added anything to it, so no single day's accumulation ever becomes more than a morning's maintenance. Kaizen, the 2-minute rule that ensures nothing compounds, nothing defers, nothing becomes the task that has been growing for 3 weeks in the background of every room. Nothing without a home, the foundational infrastructure that means every object, after every use, returns to its designated place, and displacement is never the starting condition of a surface. And the evening reset, the 5 minutes before sleep that arrange tomorrow's morning, before tomorrow has arrived, so the day begins in an environment that was prepared for it rather than left over from the one before. Tonight, you do not need to implement all 5. You do not need to reorganize your home or buy a shoe rack or change the way your mornings begin. Tonight, find one surface: the kitchen counter, or the bathroom sink, or the table by the door, the surface that has been accumulating, incrementally, the week's evidence. Clear it. Wipe it. Set it up the way you would want to find it tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning, when you walk into the space and the surface is what you set it to be the night before, not what the week left behind, notice what that does to the first 2 minutes of the day. Because the home that makes your shoulders drop when you walk into it is not one renovation away. It is not one deep clean away. It is one maintenance habit away from each moment that currently becomes part of the accumulation. She built it over years. You can begin it tonight. One surface, 5 minutes. That is where it starts. Share this with someone who has been putting off the deep clean for weeks, dreading the day they finally have to face it. They might be one small daily habit away from never needing that day at all.